Welcome back to The Will. I'm your host, Belinda Conaway, your Register of Wills for Baltimore City. We're joined again by two fantastic Row employees, Gaines Landsey and Calvin Richardson. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Before we get started, I always want to remind you that we strongly encourage you to call our office first with any questions. We will arm you with valuable information to help minimize the number of visits necessary to complete estate business. You may reach the Register of Wills office for Baltimore City at 410-752-5131. Helpful information, checklists, and forms are also available on our website, www.registers.maryland.gov. You can also reach us on Facebook at Row Baltimore City. Recently, Britney Spears made headlines when she filed to change her will, which was drafted before the birth of her two sons. She was seeking to make these amendments in the event of her untimely passing to protect her children. According to news reports, Britney's fortune is estimated to be in the hundreds of millions. Her initial will simply stated that her fortune would be left to her heirs and that they would inherit that fortune in its entirety at age 18. What would you do with a few $100 million at 18 years old, let alone a young person inheriting even a sum of $10,000? Would it all be sold and spent in a month? How might we ensure that we are teaching responsibility for asset inheritance and being responsible ourselves, let alone a young person inheriting even a sum of $10,000? Would it all be sold and spent in a month? How might we ensure that we are teaching responsibility for asset inheritance and being responsible ourselves when designing our own wills? Now, in previous shows, we said, get your will written, get it into our office, make sure you have two witnesses sign it, and it will only cost $5 for safekeeping. Many of you have heard us, and we've seen registration of wills in Baltimore City increase by over 150% in the last few years. So today, we want to take it a step further and have you consider some options that might ensure responsible management of your assets. Again, according to recent online stories, Britney has decided to create trusts for her children, and they will not be able to inherit the entire estate until they are 35. For those of you who are new to our show, a will is like the roadmap for the distribution of your assets. It's a legal declaration of a person's intentions as to who he or she desires to carry out their last wishes, and by specifying how they want their assets distributed. Without a will, the intestate laws of Maryland direct the order of priority of who can serve as a personal representative of an estate, starting with spouses and children, followed by parents, siblings, grandchildren, uncles, aunts, nieces, nephews, and other relatives. This can oftentimes be confusing or lead to inter-family squabbles that are often unnecessary if you have everything in order prior to one's passing. And for those of you who live in the city who have been proactive and may want to at any point change your will, that is possible. A will can be changed at any time before death if a person is competent. The changes should not be made by the alteration to the existing will, but by a document called a codicil. This codicil must be executed with the same formalities as a will. Two witnesses sign and processed through our offices. I'm Belinda Conaway, your Register of Wills for Baltimore City. Instead of making your usual New Year's resolutions that fall by the wayside in a few weeks, why not do something that will protect your assets that you've worked so hard for? Write your will today. Be sure to visit us on Facebook at Row Baltimore City or call 410-752-5131. And remember, where there's a will,
there's a way.
So let's get this conversation started about responsibility. I'm a parent. Many of the listeners are parents, and we all would like to know that the children will be taken care of. So what kinds of things do you see or have you seen in a will that helps prepare for this responsibility? Anyone getting a large amount of money can be challenging at one time, but for young people especially. So what kinds of things do you see in wills, or have you seen, that show where parents are making arrangements for their children to get that money in a responsible manner?
I've seen in certain instances, reading through wills, of stipend managements being set up through the wills, through an age management process. Most of the times when this will has been written, these children are minors. So it would start from that minor age until any desired age specified in the will. I've seen it from up to the age of 18, they would receive a certain amount. Beyond that, a college fund set aside, created through a trust. A must, not if they do, it is specified, they must, in order to receive this portion or this stipend, actually has been placed in the will. It puts and I think that's a good thing, because it lets that individual know, that child know, okay, I don't want to go to college, but I want that money. No, your mother said specifically, the age of 18, you receive this amount of money. Okay, let's say you run through that. You get a certain amount that is dedicated for a college fund and for you to live off through college. You can't just grab that. This is that process that you have to go to. So she's saying, it is my wish to see that, okay, you do start school and that you do go to school. This is the only way that you're going to receive this particular stipend.
That's a great idea, because most parents would like to think of their children as being financially sound.
Exactly.
And successful, and we know that education is a part of that.
Exactly.
That helps people be successful. And so designating that in a will is something that I would think most people wouldn't think about. Mm-hmm. You know, your initial thought is who gets what, mm-hmm. if I pass, but also thinking about how can I perhaps incentivize my young person, my daughter, my son, into finishing college or whatever the benchmarks are that they see for their child.
Exactly.
To help them be on solid footing financially, which is what all parents want. Exactly. Want to know that their children will be okay.
And of course, we have to recognize that there are some young people, minors, who were left a large sum of money, and that money needs to be protected for the young people. So the Orphans Court has set up a program that enables those funds to be managed initially by an attorney, a court-appointed attorney for the Orphans Court. They walk the client through the process of setting up those accounts and how they will manage them. And that's what protects the interests of the child until age majority. So even though some funds can be put in a trust, there are some other protections prior to that trust coming into play.
The guardianship.
That's actually called the guardianship account.
Absolutely, and also having those conversations about if something should happen to me and I have minor children, who those children should go to. And again, having that conversation so that things are clear if something happens. We all want to make sure that, or would like to know that we live to see our children through high school and college and weddings and all those wonderful things. But if something happens, what will happen to my children?
Exactly.
You know, making sure that we take care of those types of things is very, very important, but also in protecting that money to know that they won't have $40,000 or $10,000 and then next year have nothing. We want to make sure that they can handle that responsibility. And that's also a conversation with the children as well. And maybe starting savings accounts and doing things like that to help them understand how important that is to have that financial awareness. So let's talk about children. Okay, if something happens to the parents, they're no longer here. What happens as far as the children are concerned? Who has responsibility of the children? Let's start talking about if the person has a will. Okay, so let's start with if there is a will in place, what happens?
Okay. Depending on what's specified in the will and how it's written, not like back in the old days. Back in the early 70s, late 60s, it was word of mouth. My great-grandmother, my grandfather, they would take the responsibility of raising the child. A cousin, an aunt, someone close to the parent, and they would deem to be or be initiated or even told, this is my godparent, this is my godparent. And that person would literally take care of that child the way that that parent intended on it to be done. This is without contract, no lawyer, anything like that. But times has changed. Times have changed to the point that where we have a will now. And the will specifies and designates and tells who that deceased wants to be the guardian of their child. It's either done by that point or by the point of the court.
Okay, so let's say a person does not have a will and they have minor children. So let's go from there. Person comes in, there's no will.
If they come in, there is no will, and they wish to be appointed guardian of a child, it would be best that it would be one of the parents, be it the surviving mother or the surviving father. I believe, Mr. Gates, that the aunts and uncles may also qualify, but then it still has to go through by petition to the court to be appointed guardian of this minor child.
You're absolutely right, Mr. Richardson. The fact is that there are a lot of times where children are left orphaned in these current times. So someone has to protect the interests, in particular when they've been left a substantial amount of money. Anything considered over $5,000 is what needs to at least be protected until the child reaches age majority, which we all know is 18. The way that is done is they petition the orphans court to become the guardian of the property. The guardian of the property means that those funds are put into a protected account that can only be withdrawn under the order of a court, of the court, meaning the orphans court. Secondly, there's an attorney that's appointed by the court to set those funds up and set that process in motion so that it ensures that the child's interest, the minor child's interest, is protected. At the same time, that same individual who had, let's say, been taking care of the child for a couple years anyhow, because the parent may not have been around in general, they can petition to be guardian of the person and property. So in one petition, if the court rules in their favor, they have covered both aspects, guardianship of the child and guardianship of the property. It's a very, very positive program that the Orphans Court has in place. The court can rule on any withdrawal. However, certain things that a parent would do, even though this person is now a guardian, will come out of the expenses of the parent. but if it's for the benefit of the child overall and their future success, such as private education, the court is more likely to accept that as a reason for a withdrawal. I don't want to lose anybody on this. I'm not saying that they're nitpicking. They're actually doing things that are for the best interest of the child. Sometimes people are too close to the child to realize what is just the best interest of the child. So an independent representative, meaning the court, is the one that steps in to ensure that that child receives their inheritance.
And so we really get an opportunity to see how important this information is and how important the discussions are, because no one looks after your child the way that you do. But if you can prepare and at least put those wishes, your final wishes or whatever your expectations are, in writing, it certainly helps to give guidance to whoever is left with the responsibility of figuring out what is best. Because when you say, when I think of what is best for a child, what you may think is best for my child may not be what I think or what I know to be best for my child. And it seems like it's very important for people who have minor children to get their affairs in order, to make this much easier. We hope that all parents will be around to raise their children and make sure that their children have the best opportunities possible. But just in case, why not have it written down?
And let's tie our agency in, because I've said a lot about the Orphans Court in this segment. However, the clerks for the Orphans Court, not the law clerks, but those who clerk for the court, are your employees, Ms. Conaway. So that staff is very critical in the processing of those requests for guardianship, as well as any other judicial matters, because it all goes through your office, our office, which is Judicial Probate Office. But that is located in-house within the Register of Wills for Baltimore City under your terrific leadership, Mrs. Conway.
Thank you. Absolutely, we are the first stop. And again, we encourage people to call if you have questions, 410-752-5131. But we want to make sure that the children are taken care of and that we start thinking about who is a responsible person, who would be the best person to care for my child, because otherwise everything is left up to the courts. And the courts don't know your family and friends the way that you do. So it's much easier if those wishes are in writing with two witnesses' signatures and your signature and a date. Makes it a whole lot easier when we're looking after the children.
You know, I still cannot believe that Prince is gone.
I know, right? And he was so young. He died without a will.
Really? I didn't know that. I think I need to get a will.
I think you're right.
Let's not make the same mistake. Write your will today. Call us, visit us online, or check us out on social media. And remember, where there's a will, there's a way. Welcome to another edition of the Conaway Chronicle. In this show series, I want to again highlight services for the senior members of our community. MAP stands for Maryland Access Point, connects Baltimore City seniors to free health and wellness services. It offers free classes and programs to seniors in the Baltimore community. As we age, we often need more health and wellness services. This program supports seniors by helping to keep their minds and bodies in good health. MAP supplies seniors with discussion groups, activities, and an online resource directory. MAP can be contacted at 410-396-2273. MAP offices are located at 301 West Preston Street. That number again is 410-396-2273. Their website is www.marylandaccesspoint.info. I want to again thank my guests, Gaines Landsey and Calvin Richardson, for joining us today, as well as our young leader and you, the viewers. A special thanks to the students of the Recording Arts and Media program right here at Douglas High School for producing our show. Tune in next time, and remember, where there's a will, there's a way.